Hello, my name is John Towell from Just Law Solicitors, law firm here in Spain, and we made an earlier video where we talked about the announcements made by Pedro Sanchez concerning people buying property in Spain. First of all, I'd just like to say we're a law firm here. I'm not a Spanish lawyer, but I've spoken to Marisa Moreno Castillo, who is a Spanish lawyer with 35 years of experience. Now, the first thing that we want to discuss, we've had a lot of questions about this, is the people who this will not apply to. If you're moving to Spain as a non-EU citizen, so for example, somebody from the United Kingdom, somebody from America, Canada, New Zealand, whatever, non-EU citizens, if you move to Spain on a visa, for example, the non-lucrative visa or the digital nomad visa or the self-employed visa, etc., etc., then this will not apply to you. So that's it. If you have an Irish passport, French passport, Latvian passport, this won't apply to you either. People with EU passports, this won't apply to you. Now, who will it apply to? Before we talk about that, the first thing to realize is this isn't a law. It's not even a draft law. Normally, we don't comment on things that aren't the law here in Spain, but in this instance, we feel we have to because there's been so many headlines and what we think has been misinformation. Okay, so if you're coming here, for example, UK citizen, an American citizen, Canadian citizen, and you come in here and you're going to be a non-resident, that means people with a holiday home, people coming on the 90 days in the 180-day period, then the announcement, and I will call it an announcement because it's just an announcement, it may apply to you, but it's not law and it's not the draft law. What Pedro Sanchez is saying, he's the Prime Minister of Spain, is he's saying that he wants non-residents, so people with holiday homes, to pay 100% of the tax of residents. Now, we don't think that that means 100% of the purchase tax. So I'm not saying you will have to pay 100,000 euros in tax if your property is worth 100,000 euros. That isn't the case. He is saying that he wants non-residents not to receive any tax breaks compared to residents. And it's part of a big plan to regenerate the housing market for younger people in Spain. Now, the problem that we have with it, and I'll stress again, it's only an announcement. It's not even a draft law. It has to be passed into law. So we don't really have anything we can analyze and we can talk about. It's just a statement made by the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez. But if it does become law, let's hypothetically just assume that, and again, it's far too early, but let's just assume that it does become law, then he will have this problem. Because in Spain, when you buy a property, like stamp duty in England, it's called purchase tax. Now, this purchase tax varies depending on which part of Spain you live in. Because unlike, for example, the United Kingdom, and I think America, Spain has what's called regional governments. And the regional governments can set their own purchase tax level. That's why in Spain, purchase tax can range from 4% to 10%. Now, Pedro Sanchez, and I don't want to be political, has lost the election twice, but he's still the Prime Minister, and he governs or runs Spain in a coalition, like, for example, the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives with David Cameron and Nick Clegg in the United Kingdom. I don't think you can have that in America. It's either Republican or Democrat. Now, if he chooses to raise purchase tax to something crazy like 100%, or for example, double it, going from, depending on where you are, 8 to 16%. We don't know what he means, but assume he does do that, then the regional governments, some of those, for example, Andalusia, Valencia, are not part of his coalition, and they legally can say to Pedro Sanchez, well, we're not going to do it. And there's nothing that Pedro Sanchez can do because the regional governments amongst other things, can fix their own transmission tax. But again, it's only an announcement. It's not even a draft law. The other problem he'd have is that if this law was passed, and it's not even a draft law, I have to keep saying that, if this law is passed, then the European Court of Justice could rule that it's discriminatory against non-EU citizens. So, for example, someone from the United Kingdom or America coming here to buy a holiday home, they could rule that that's discriminatory, and it wouldn't be allowed because Spain is part of the European Union. Now, this has happened in the past. Spain tried to impose higher taxes on foreigners a while back, and the European Court of Justice ruled it to be unlawful. So I hope this video has helped, and I hope it's answered some of the questions from the earlier video that I did with Marisa. Everything I've said, I've spoken to Marisa. She says it's fine. No worries, she's busy today. But if you have any more queries, please feel free to comment. If you're in America, don't worry about TikTok getting banned. Well, worry about TikTok potentially being banned, but we'll put the same video on YouTube, and we'll also put it in the Move to Spain podcast. And there's absolutely no doubt we'll talk about it a lot on the Move to Spain podcast, as well as the Move to Spain Facebook group. So thanks from me at justlawsolicitors.com.